Welcome to a Merciless Gaming Media Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Today, Casey and I are presenting DM vs. DM, Episode 2, where we'll be answering the question, how does one get started playing Dungeons & Dragons? Please check out our Merciless Gaming Media Facebook page for podcast updates and some of our homebrewed content. While you're there, feel free to drop us a comment, introduce yourself, and let us know how we're doing. Also, check out Casey's online t-shirt website, Spooky Stuff Studio, where you can find shirt designs of oddities, horror themes, and our own Merciless Gaming Media merch. Watching live D&D campaigns via YouTube and other streaming services can be alternately inspiring and intimidating for potential players looking to start a Dungeons & Dragons adventure.
We are here to help you, regardless if you've watched any D&D streams or you have never seen any role-playing games in action. Our goal today is to help you figure out where to start.
It can be daunting. The amount of information out there is staggering. But the good news is you need very little to get started. And as you become comfortable with the basics, you can add a little bit by little bit to help you expand your gaming experience and the world you and the other players will be creating together.
Before diving into the basics of D&D, we would like to point out that D&D is not the only tabletop role-playing game out there. If magic casting elves and fire breathing dragons is not your cup of tea, there are a wide variety of tabletop role-playing games you can choose from, such as
the Space Galaxy-based Starfinder,
the samurai-based Legend of the Five Rings,
the vampire game The Masquerade,
Werewolf Apocalypse,
the dark future of Cyberpunk and Shadowrun,
the horror-based Call of Cthulhu,
the alternate reality, magic-using Wild West game called Deadlands,
the all-encompassing can-do-anything Savage Worlds gaming system,
just to name a few.
All of these different games have a varying level of complexity. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition was created with the intent of being simple enough for a beginner gamer to have easy entrance into the game.
The simplification of 5th edition compared to previous editions has the added benefit for providing more advanced players a lot of creative room, which I personally really enjoy.
The great thing about 5th edition D&D is all you really need is a copy of the rules, which Wizards of the Coast provides for free as a PDF online.
Now you also need paper and pencil and a set of dice. As far as the dice is concerned, you can get those for free online using an app. And these online apps allow you to roll randomly generated versions of the dice without spending a dime.
I suspect, however, as you progress as a player or dungeon master, you will find a growing temptation to become a dice-hoarding goblin, like so many other players out there. Most of us end up with way more dice than we will ever truly need.
Now, a normal dice set contains a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20-sided die.
If you don't mind spending a little bit of money, the best place to start is with the D&D starter set. The box set includes everything you need to get started. An essential rules handbook, an introductory adventure, 5 pre-made character sheets, and a set of dice.
You can buy the starter set from Amazon, Walmart, or Barnes & Nobles. However, if and where possible, you can help support your local business by making your purchase from a local gaming shop.
The pre-made character sheets in the starter box set help you get a bunch of the math out of the way. The personality traits, motives, and relationships listed on the pre-made sheet are meant to serve as an inspiration, but you are free to adjust as much as you want.
Of course, if you really want to create a character from scratch, you can do that too. One option is the website D&D Beyond. They offer a character creator tool that can help you.
If you want to dive head first, skip the starter set and start building your own characters and world from scratch, then we recommend getting the following 3 books.
The hardcover Player's Handbook, which covers everything in the basic rules with additional character customization options, It's also good to have at your gaming table to help reference spells and abilities while you're playing.
If you want to be the DM or Dungeon Master, you can also pick up the Dungeon Master's Guide, which covers how to create memorable stories, has optional rules, and a large list of magical items.
We also recommend that the DM pick up the Monster Manual. Now, this book has stats for tons of creatures to be used to challenge your players.
Again, all these books can be picked up at Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Nobles, or your local gaming shop.
Now, here comes the tricky bit. Someone in your group of friends needs to take up the role of DM. The DM acts as the story's narrator. They help drive the story forward. They set the scene, guide the players, and will be the story's antagonist.
A couple of thoughts for the DM. According to Wizards of the Coast, rule number 1 for aspiring DMs is you don't have to know all the rules. In fact, the creator of Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax, once stated, "The secret we should never let the Dungeon Master know is that they don't need any rules."
As a new DM, it's usually easier to start by running a pre-made adventure rather than coming up with your own story and world.
Even seasoned DMs can rely heavily on pre-made campaigns because their stories are usually good and they are a huge time saver for pre-game prep.
Now, Wizards of the Coast has several very large campaign books that you can purchase. You can also go to the DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG and choose from thousands of homebrewed content thanks to the Wizards of the Coast open source material.
If none of that interests you and you're hellbent on creating your own story from scratch, first off, we say, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Go for it. Second off, we recommend you find something in the entertainment world, like movies, books, TV shows, and figuring out how to D&Dify it. Your options are practically endless.
Once you have put together a group of players, picked a DM, and an adventurer, you're ready to get started. Assuming you didn't get the starter set we mentioned earlier, you'll probably be spending your first session together, commonly referred to as Session 0, working to create characters, establishing their relationships with each other, and what kind of adventure you will all be working together to start.
Talking about each of your characters and establishing relationships in Session 0 isn't mandatory, but it helps create a smooth start to most adventures.
Discussing the type of the adventure helps to set the tone of the game that you'll be running. Do you want a serious by-the-rules campaign, or is everyone okay with a bit of humor and loose interpretation of the rules kind of story?
We recommend what is generally known as the rule of cool in every campaign. If the player wants to do something kick-ass and super cool, the rules be damned. In other words, don't let the rules get in the way of something potentially awesome.
When you start running your adventure, you'll probably be referencing the books a lot, and as long as everyone understands this, it should be okay.
No one should expect everyone to have every rule, spell, or monster memorized. Try and exercise patience and understanding for all involved.
However, if you're fiddling around with your cell phone, not paying attention, and only picking up the rulebook to figure out what you're going to do next when it's your turn, instead of planning ahead, using the books and coming up with a course of action before your turn, you're doing everyone else at the table a great disservice by wasting everyone's game time.
Once you start running the adventure, you may find that the dungeons and combat, determining who is where in relation to everything else, gets a bit easier with visual aids such as maps and miniatures.
There is nothing wrong with playing a game style called Theater of the Mind, which uses no map, no miniatures, and no visual aids.
But if you do choose to use visual aids, you will find yourself picking up the side hobby of parading and painting miniatures and drawing maps.
There is a third option, and that is to use online tools such as D&D Beyond or Fantasy Ground. These online tools have everything from character sheets, maps, monster and character pawns, and campaigns.
The online community that uses these tools and others like them are incredibly supportive, and these tools provide a ton of helpful material to help you get started.
That being said, you need to keep in mind that the purchase of a physical copy of any Wizards of the Coast book does not give you access to the same book on one of these online tools for free. And vice versa, a digital copy of a book purchased does not give you a free physical copy.
These companies are separate entities, and though D&D Beyond sounds like an official Wizards of the Coast site, they are in fact separate companies, with a license agreement allowing them to use the name.
You know that the more you play the game, the easier all this will get. It can feel awkward getting started, but as long as everyone is open They communicate, they're supportive and understanding. The awkwardness goes away.
For us, the game is just as much about getting together with friends as it is about kicking monsters' ass, mercilessly destroying adversaries, and getting our hands on that sweet, sweet loot.
Sweet, sweet loot. If you're looking for help, and if you have any questions, or you just want to say hello, please feel free to join us on our Facebook page, Merciless Gaming Media, and leave a comment.
There are no dumb questions. And if we don't have the answers, we will do everything we can to get you pointed to some helpful material.
If you are not comfortable posting your question online for the world to see, you can always send us an email at themercilessgm@gmail.com.
Lastly, we are currently running 2 campaigns, alternating each week after week. You can listen and follow on most any podcast provider or on YouTube.
Until next time,
Make it merciless.